Okay.
Yes, it does indicate the recording on my screen. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending the Needham Design Review Board meeting. It is Monday, October 3rd, 2022, 7:32 p.m. and I call this meeting of the Design Review Board to order. So I have a short preamble to read based on the open meeting laws and meeting in this fashion via Zoom. So I am a board member, Robert Dermody. I will be running the meeting this evening in the absence of our chair. I would like to confirm that all members and applicants are present and can hear me. I'll first begin with our board members. Len Karen.
Present.
Great. Steve Tanner.
Here.
And Susan Opton. Susan?
Here.
Okay, could barely hear you there. Thanks. Also attending our top-notch town staff person, Elisa Lichman. Thank you for your help, Elisa. So applicants on the agenda. If you could please confirm you are present or whom you are representing. I'll call it out by the address. Let me get to my top of my meeting here. So M&T Bank located at 827 Highland Ave.
Yes, that's me. Marie is my project manager. My name's Wiley. I'm
Okay,
doing M&T Bank.
Wiley, great, thank you. Anybody else here for that project? All right. Second, Boston Property is located at 140 Kendrick Street.
Here, present.
Great, and that was, how do you pronounce your first name, please?
Elise.
Elise, great. Anybody else here with you?
I have myself, Ben Myers, John and Marcel from Sunwealth, and then soon Nick Scully from VHB, and then soon to be Rick DeAngelis from BXB.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then lastly, Sheraton Hotel, 100 Cabot Street.
Hi, Pam Jagello representing the Sheraton from Signs by Jay.
Great, thank you, Pam. All right. Over here. Good evening. Welcome to this open meeting of the Needham Design Review Board, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. For this meeting, the Needham Design Review Board is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, Design Review Board page, identifying how the public may join. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. Design Review Board meetings typically do not engage with public comment. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this board are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that other people may be able to see you and that to take care to not screen share your computer unless the chair approves. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. And then I'd finally like to review the remote meeting procedures for tonight's meeting. I will introduce each applicant on the agenda in order. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will take comments or questions from our board members. After discussion, each vote will be by roll call vote. The building department requires the electronic submission of building permit applications. A copy of the application stamped and noted for the type of approval that it receives will be emailed to the applicant by DRB support staff. This document can then be attached to your building permit application. So we will now begin with the first item on the agenda, which is the M&T Bank located at 827 Highland Avenue. So I'd ask the applicant or their representatives there too to give us a brief description, and we'll proceed from there.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm representing M&T Bank. They changed over from People's United Bank to M&T Bank across the country. We've handled probably 15 to 20 sites, different banks in Massachusetts. with this changeover. We're handling all the signage and exterior branding. We're here just for the one set of facelit channel letters that's on a raceway, the color of the bricks, right over the front entrance.
Okay, anything else?
Um,
You want to go over some of the dimensions, maybe?
What was that?
Would you just review some of the dimensions for us, please?
Yeah. So it's a little under 9 foot 10 inches wide, and a little under 1 foot 9 inches high. The light emits from the face through the acrylic face. There are LEDs in the lights. The raceway is meant to be hidden. It's protecting the facade there. So it's painted the color of the bricks, or as close as possible. It's a little over 17 square feet total. And it should be a little smaller than the, actually kind of a lot smaller than the People's United Bank original sign, but just as high.
Right. Okay, I'll ask Steve Tanner to maybe go first if you'd like to ask any questions of our applicant or make some comments, Steve.
Well, thanks, Bob. I think the sign looks nice. It's kind of laid out well, and it basically takes up, looks nice on the building, the way they showed it there, and I think that's fine like that. Wouldn't make any changes, even though the lettering is a little thin on Bank. I think they're emphasizing the M&T.
I'll jump in here if I may. This is something that comes up with a lot of our signs. And the white acrylic with it illuminated, don't we have some concerns, Steve, about the brightness of that potentially?
Well, we talked about like white faces on box signs.
Okay, but not individual letters per se.
No, I mean,
Yeah. Just so you know, is it Wiley again? Is that your name?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so what I'm referring to is when we've had a lot of signs come in, and sometimes if it's a big box with a white face, we ask them to tone it down. But as Steve reminded me, with just individual letters, I think it'll be okay.
one thing, Bob, we could always ask them to put a dimmer in next to
Okay.
the power supply, and if it's a problem, we'll make them dim it down a bit.
Is that okay with you, Wiley?
Yeah, we can have that option for sure. I will say that as you said, the letters aren't that thick at all, so it won't be intimidating at all, and it won't shine too bright.
Okay. Let's see, go around here. Len, Karen, any comments or questions?
Overall, excuse me, overall, I agree with Steve where everything looks proportionate and fine in general, but the brightness does concern me. The dimmer switch seems like a perfect option to me, just in case if it does become a bit much, that it could be adjusted. But I don't know if that's enforceable or possible, but if that's possible, I think with that inclusion, I'm fine with this.
Okay, great. Thank you. Susan, any thoughts or observations?
I think it looks nice and agree with everything everyone else has said, but I think it looks nice.
Okay, great. One last thing, Wiley, you did mention that the proposed sign will be smaller than the new one, which good, but the old one was much wider, it appears in your photo. Was there a raceway up there for that prior sign, and that will be obviously removed?
Yes. So yeah, we'll remove that entire sign, and if it gets any hairy at all, we're not going to remove the entire thing. We're just going to cut it down to the width of the
Okay.
M&T Bank,
Okay.
in case there's going to be too much damage to the facade.
All right. And then how
Wait a
is,
second.
yeah, go
Are you
ahead,
gonna
Steve.
use the old raceway? Are
Did
they
you hear the
planning on
question, Wiley?
No, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Are you planning on using the old raceway?
It's an option. Yes, it would save us money, but we'd paint the raceway to cover all the damages from before. But really, the plan is to just make the raceway blend in. So if we can reuse it, we'll reuse it. But if there's too many holes on site, then we'll be prepared to install a new raceway.
I think you should just, a new sign should have a new raceway, and take down one and install the other.
We can do that.
All right, I'm gonna make a note of that, Wiley.
Okay,
So I have two comments or notes that'll go with our vote here. The dimmer, include a dimmer and a new raceway, please.
okay, absolutely.
Great. All right, I think we will come to the vote here. So we'll do it by
Need a
vote.
motion, Bob.
Oh, that's right. Oh, see, this is why we have Elisa. I will, Steve, would you be willing to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve the sign for L&T Bank with the addition of a dimmer switch for the power supply that's probably has a remote control. They're not that too expensive. They're only about $35, just so they know. And use a new raceway and completely scrap the old sign and install the new one as shown.
Okay, it's kind of a long motion, but
I know, there were some comments in there at the
Yep.
same time, but I
we got the
wanted to get
gist.
them in there.
We got the gist. All right, so given that, do I have a second for the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Len. All right, so that was Steve and Len. We come to the vote. Steve,
Aye.
aye. Len
Aye, excuse me.
and Susan,
Aye.
and the chair in place votes aye tonight. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Wiley.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Our next item is the 140 Kendrick Street property for the solar panels, I believe, correct? At the Boston Property site?
Yes, it is. Can you all hear me? My name is Rick DeAngelis from Boston Properties.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm doing well now that I can be heard. In any event, my name is Rick DeAngelis. I'm a senior vice president and counsel at Boston Properties, and we are here for the solar roof canopy at 140 Kendrick Street. With me this evening are the following BXP Boston Properties team members: Jonathan Abe, who is the founder and CEO of Sunwealth, which is a major solar energy firm that partners with businesses such as ours to produce clean, renewable energy, that is to say, solar projects. The chief designer of the system that we're presenting this evening is Marcel Rogers. He is also with Sunwealth. I think John Abe will give you a little more color, a little more information about who Sunwealth is. In addition, I think you've met Elise Lundy, who is Boston Properties construction manager. And lastly, if hopefully I haven't left anybody out, Nick Scully of Vanessa VHB Consulting Engineers. Nick is our civil engineer on this particular aspect of the project, and he has been on the 2 or 3 other occasions that we have been before your board. So why are we here tonight? Well, in June of 1999, the 140 Kendrick Street project received a special permit site plan review from the Needham Planning Board. And since that time, we have been before both the Planning Board and Design Review on 2 other occasions. First, to do some exterior reconfiguration and re-landscaping. And then secondly, to present and obtain approval for the construction and operation of a rooftop deck on the roof of the low-rise buildings. In both of those instances, we were before your design review board and ultimately before the planning board, and your board recommended favorably to endorse the 2 projects, and the planning board issued the decisions approving both of those. And we are here this evening because we are seeking an amendment to the special permit site plan review for the construction and operation of a solar garage roof on and above the existing parking garage. All is shown on the plans submitted, and we have made quite a submission, I must say. There's the application. There is a cover letter from me explaining who Boston Properties is, and I can tell you that I did miss probably the most important person at Boston Properties in all of this, and that is Ben Myers, who is Boston Properties Director of Sustainability. And he has focused his energies not only on Greater Boston, where we are doing substantial and many solar projects, but also throughout Boston Properties, multiple regions across the country. So I'd actually ask Ben to describe what our solar commitment is, what our clean energy policy is, and what the solar roof canopy is all about.
Thank you, Rick. I'll try to keep my comments brief here this evening. Appreciate everyone's time. I am Ben Myers. I'm Vice President of Sustainability for Boston Properties, BXP. The company has been a leader in climate action and has set our intentions with real distinct targets. We have a science-based emissions reduction target, the 1.5 degree level. We were the first office company in North America to align with the 1.5 degree reduction threshold. We also have set a target of carbon neutral operations across our entire portfolio by 2025. Part of our leadership has been on-site solar development, and that's what we're here tonight to talk about. We've executed 13 projects totaling about 8 megawatts of on-site renewable energy using solar photovoltaics. We have another 5 megawatts in the pipeline. This evening, we're joined by Sunwealth, the project developer. Sunwealth has been a key partner to Boston Properties. With Sunwealth, we've executed solar projects in Massachusetts, a number of them. 3 of them have been garage canopies, very similar to the one that we're presenting here tonight. We also have garage canopies that are in progress in San Francisco and Reston, Virginia. I should mention the 3 projects we've executed with Sunwealth include 950 and 1000 Winter Street at Bay Colony in Waltham, Massachusetts, and a 3rd project at 1020 City Point, also in Waltham, Massachusetts. But before I turn it over to Sunwealth for a presentation of this project, and I hope you'll enjoy the detail and where we are right now in design development, I wanted to provide some context for this installation. So climate action, as some of you may feel and know, has never been more urgently needed than now. And existing buildings represent one of the most important areas to address because it's the largest end user of energy, accounting for around 30% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And decarbonization of existing buildings like 140 Kendrick Street remains a major challenge in advancing climate action. The garage canopy is a huge component of one of the most exciting building decarbonization projects going on in the entire country. And I've worked on Salesforce Tower in San Francisco, the first green skyscraper in Boston, Massachusetts, the 3rd LEED version 4 platinum office building in the US at 145 Broadway Street in Cambridge. All those are great, but it's not the repositioning of an existing building to achieve a net zero outcome, which is what 140 Kendrick is. So us, along with our great client and future tenant Wellington Management, are addressing 140 Kendrick Street Building A and converting it to fully net zero. With Elise Lundy at the helm leading construction, we're re-insulating the entire building envelope. So we're gutting the interior insulation, upgrading it all to an R30 level, upgrading the roof insulation as well. We're electrifying all HVAC systems. So we're decommissioning the gas-fired systems of the building. We're upgrading all the equipment, lighting, and controls, also in partnership with Wellington Management. And most importantly, we're adding enough on-site generation with solar photovoltaic panels to match and slightly exceed the annual energy consumption at Building A. An existing building in a relatively dense development area, it's really unprecedented to do this kind of conversion. Our mantra for the project is build tight, ventilate right, energize with sunlight. And so we look forward to continuing our work with the town of Needham, a green community, a proud green community, to advance climate action together with you using proven, time-tested methods like the garage canopy at 140 Kendrick Street. And I'll turn it over to the Sunwealth team to give you guys some more color.
Thank you, Ben. I'm happy to be here. My name is John Abe. I'm the founder of Sunwealth. We're based in Cambridge. We're almost 10 years old. We develop, build, and manage solar projects for the built environment. We have over 575 projects across 16 states, but a large chunk of our projects are right here in Eastern Massachusetts. I'm pleased that our partners here in Eastern Massachusetts range from Boston Properties to Auburn High School and Middle School, to Mustard Seed Soup Kitchen in Worcester, to Caritas, Affordable Housing, to Dorchester Bay Economic Development Authority. And we have a couple of Whole Foods, including Melrose and in Sudbury. I'm also very pleased to introduce my business partner and the head of our development and design, Marcel, who will present the project. And notably, Marcel's also been the chief developer and designer on several of the projects we've done with Boston Properties, including the canopies on Winter Street and at 500 Taunton Pond.
Thanks, John, and good evening, everyone. As John said, I've got the pleasure today of introducing you to the solar garage project. And I'm just going to go ahead and switch over here to share my screen and walk through the drawings. So what you're looking at right now is an aerial. Oh, actually, is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes. Yep.
So what you see right now is an aerial of the site at 140 Kendrick Street. As you can note, here is I-95 and the off-ramp onto Kendrick Street. And here is the garage on which we are proposing the installation of a solar structure. I'm going to switch here to the design drawings themselves. So these are the isometric drawings that basically show the main components of the garage structure, the solar structure. This first drawing here being the columns, which are going to be erected above the existing garage structure columns and piers. There following are the drawings of the jack beams and girders that are creating the majority of the structure. And on top of those set rails, which are basically substructures on which the solar panels themselves contained here in this fourth isometric drawing will sit. You'll notice that in the corners here, there's no structure being proposed. That is because there are the existing conditions, there are no piers on which the columns would be able to sit, and therefore the structure of the garage would not be able to support the areas here. In total, the project is estimated to hold about 2,640 solar panels that are going to produce about 1,300 megawatt hours of clean energy per year. And to put that number in context, an average house uses about 10,700 kilowatt hours. So this solar project would generate enough electricity to power about 120 to 130 homes. As part of the Massachusetts Department of Renewable Energy Resources program, that solar program, this project is also mandated to include an energy storage component. And we are likewise proposing a energy storage facility to be located on the ground level of this project. And the size of that energy storage facility is about the size of, kind of depends on the model you're looking at, but maybe 7 to 12 Tesla vehicles.
Marcel, could you flip back to the site plan just to show them where that storage facility will be located?
Absolutely. So that would be located here on the ground level. It's right next to the existing garage electrical room. And there's also Eversource has their transformer located in this area as well. So it's all being kind of co-located with the existing electrical infrastructure that is there.
And Marcel, can you also confirm, while it'll have the same capacity as about 10 Teslas. It's only going to take up a couple parking spots.
Confirmed. It will take up about 2.5 parking spaces. So really confining the footprint there to be within that area. I can share specifics about the battery as well. It's about 320 kilowatts or 680 kilowatt hours for those of you that's provides context there. And the energy technology, it's a lithium ferrophosphate battery. So it's not an experimental battery. It's tested, it's tried and true, and it is one of the most common uses of technology for energy storage to date. This drawing just shows the column layout plans, and it kind of calls out the 3 different column types, A, B, and C. That'll kind of reference later in the drawing to show the different existing columns and how the garage solar structure itself would be anchored to those columns. Again, the girders and the beams, this kind of the layout plan of how that would be framed, connecting to the structure itself and how they're spliced together. On this page is the layout of the rails themselves. So these rails kind of going this direction. I guess I should also share that the bottom of the page here is the orientation towards the highway itself. So I-95 runs right along the bottom of this page. And the stairwells to the garage would be on the top of the page. Again, the solar project is comprised of about 2,640 solar panels that are laid on top of these rails. And this next drawing here just kind of shows the solar panels located on top of the rails. Another component that we considered very heavily, in particular at the direction of building commissioner, was how exactly we were going to capture the rainwater and ensure that it doesn't mix with the garage structure itself on top, given that this is clean water that we'd be able to divert back into the environment. And so this page shows we're not pursuing the alternate here interior gutters. Rather, we're going to have one continuous gutter located on the low end of the garage that will capture all of the rainwater, all the storm water, and divert it to grade with an existing connection at grade. And we'll share that detail. I believe Nick will walk through that after shortly. Here's a couple of sections of the structure. So this first section is taken in the middle of the garage. This area here on the left is the low end. So again, that area that is close to I-95. And this area here being on the high end. I'll just call out a couple of different dimensions. The minimum clearance we have on the low end is 8 feet. So from the top deck to that lowest girder is going to be 8 feet. And then on the high end, from the finished garage to the finished solar project itself, and that adds about another 20, that's 20 feet on top of the garage structure. The canopy itself is tilted, sloped at 2 degrees, referencing the low end here close to an I-95 up towards the campus itself, with all the water again being diverted through a gutter on the low end here and down to grade. These are just sections, this section taken at the high end, this section taken at the low end. And here are a few details on how exactly we're anchoring the structure of the canopy of the solar garage solar project to the existing piers. Effectively, there are 4 anchor bolts in this column type that are being connected to the existing structure. The following pages show other conditions of the piers and how we intend to connect the columns of the solar structure. And then I seem to have closed, bear with me 1 minute, I apologize, as I go back into to show the renderings. I'll add to, as I'm pulling this up, that we have been working very closely with Eversource and to complete the design and engineering review of this project on the electrical front. We're currently in their final round of reviewing the project, and we anticipate them to provide us permission to build and connect the system any day now.
Marcel, you able to call up your renderings?
Yes. So we have a few different renderings. A few of them are aerials, giving you kind of above bird's eye view of what the site would look like. One taken from Kendrick Street on the ground level, one taken from the rooftop area in this location, another taken from the ground level at the traffic kind of landscape circle here, and one from atop the garage deck itself. Here's the first one that shows the viewpoint from the I-95 exit ramp. Another taken from Kendrick Street. This one is that roof area that I pointed out on the first page. Again, here's 95, the low end of the garage solar structure, and that's slight 2-degree slope going up over the existing stairwell to allow for protection from the elements there. The drainage, again, would be proposed downspouts on that low end going down to grade. Here's a view from that traffic circle in the center of the campus. One from underneath the structure itself on the top deck of the garage. And then a few aerials. And with that, I will send it over to Nick to talk about the proposed drainage revision.
Sure. Thanks, Marcel. Just share my screen here. Hi, everyone. Nick Scully from VHB. Good to see you again. I think as far as the drainage is concerned, I'll go through it pretty quickly. There's not a large change here. So the plan I have up right now is actually the existing conditions utility plan we're looking at the garage, and then, just to the plan north is Kendrick Street, and plan west and to the left here is 95. All of the drainage now is collected on the top level of the garage. It discharges through a single pipe, so it's a single 15-inch pipe, about in the sort of lower third of the garage, to the south here. It gets picked up in a 15-inch reinforced concrete pipe, which then travels sort of through the site to the south towards the pond. It goes through an oil gas separator, oil water separator, and then discharges to the pond. For our sort of proposed stormwater, we're mimicking that existing condition. We are going to replace that older pipe that was constructed as part of the original development with an HDPE pipe. And the main reason for that is it makes the connections of those downspouts possible, just because of the fittings and whatnot. So we're replacing that pipe in its current location, which, going from concrete to plastic. The size is going to be the same, and they're all coming out that same direction. So we will, tie those downspouts in, and then tie into the existing manhole. The nice thing about collecting the stormwater in the canopies is it won't get down to that sort of drivable surface. So previously you'd have a rainstorm, the sand, those grits, some of those oils would wash off, sort of, and get into your drainage system, and then you have that oil water separator to sort of clean those out. Where in this case, we're picking up that stormwater above that drivable surface. So this water is going to be significantly cleaner running to the ultimately the pond than the existing runoff under the current condition. So that's sort of the high level stormwater. There's no change in our impervious area, obviously, because the canopy is coming over the existing deck. So there's really no change in volumes or rates. It's really just that collecting it before it gets to that drivable surface. So just an improvement in the water quality there. I guess we'll kick it back to Rick.
Yep, that'd be good. I have a couple of quick things to add. I want to note for everybody, most importantly for the design review board, that condition 2.5 of the existing special permit requires that there be 1,334 parking spaces on site at all times. There are currently 1,334 existing spaces. And as was indicated, we are going to take 3 of those spaces and use them for the operation in conjunction with the solar roof system, and they'll be utilized for solar battery equipment and other accessory equipment that's necessary. So we're going to lose 3 spaces. We've identified that, and I think Nick can put up a plan and show you that we have replaced those 3 spaces so that we will in fact continue to maintain 1,334 spaces as required by, and we will be in compliance with the existing special permit condition that requires those spaces. Nick, can you address that, how we're handling the replacement of the 3 spaces, please?
Sure. So just to the east of Building A, sort of in this surface lot, there's some existing spaces that we are going to remove the striping, restripe as compact to pick up the 3 spaces. So overall, net even, we're maintaining that 1,334. And in looking at the total allowable count, we're just below the 50% allowable compact percentage for the site. So it's just a simple restripe. Again, no added impervious area, just taking the 9-foot spaces, the 9-foot standard spaces, and making them compact spaces to pick up those 3 additional.
And this plan was one of the plans we submitted to both the design review and the planning board. So it is included in the submission materials. So we're happy to entertain any questions you may have. But what we're asking for from the town of Needham is approval for the construction and operation of a solar roof canopy, and we look at this as a solar roof. The drainage has been satisfactorily handled, and it was a question that David Roach, the building commissioner, had early on, and he has been afforded a copy of the plan as well. So we're asking for approval of the solar roof canopy, the operation of the 3 spaces, the elimination of the 3 spaces so that we can use it in conjunction with the solar battery system, and then the replacement of the 3 spaces, restriping and coming up with 3 additional spaces which are compact and well within the maximum permitted by the bylaw.
All right. Thank you, Rick, and your colleagues for a very thorough presentation. That's very helpful. Let me just start. I'll just start off, if I may, with my colleague's permission. I've got a few questions. So the slope is 2 degrees, and it's obviously a fairly large area. And it increases the height of that garage. So there's a structure on top of it. Now, I guess what I'm getting at is, and it appears to be one plane of panels. Was there any consideration given to breaking it up into sort of several shorter length planes so the rise doesn't go as great? Maybe a gap between them, almost like a sawtooth pattern. Is that possible? I guess I should ask first. And then if so, was it considered?
Yeah, so from a structural feasibility standpoint, we had explored the option to do, I believe the sawtooth pattern that you're talking about is where it maybe slopes up a certain direction, drops off, and then slopes again.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
And again, from where the existing conditions are and where the piers and the columns themselves are, this was most optimized to fit with the existing structure, the singular plane that is.
Okay, all right. And I presume the orientation, if you can explain a little bit how the orientation of that slope was decided.
So the best orientation for solar production is generally 180 degrees south. However, given the perimeter of the garage itself, to have the structure oriented more south than it is would increase the height even more so. So we've kind of optimized around the production and also just trying to minimize the overall added height of the structure.
Okay. All right, I'll stop there. I have a few more, but I want to give my colleagues a chance to maybe chime in. Steve, do you have anything at this point?
I was just wondering, on this garage level, are they going to have any EV charging stations? And number 2, what about this lighting in the roof of this garage? It doesn't really explain too well how it's going to light this garage at night inside the roof.
I'll take the EV charging stations, and Marcel team, you can take the lighting. So EV charging, we are exploring with Eversource the addition of EV charging at the site. Doubtful that we would put it on the garage deck up that high. We'd probably want to site it a little more conveniently for our customers, where more people park. So it's where it's more visible and they'll use it. The EV charging, given Eversource requirements, will be grid tied in some form or fashion, either behind a meter in an existing building or behind a transformer at the garage. But obviously we like the optics of EV charging being powered by solar. So we'll try to site them near the garage. We haven't determined exact place, but we are seeing more demand from our customers for EV charging. And we have a program nationally to increase EV charging. So absolutely want to add it. We don't have concrete plans at this time, but we do expect to add EV charging at the site.
Thank you.
And regarding the lighting, there currently is on the top deck, light poles, and we would be replacing those with LED lighting that would be mounted to the structure itself, and maintain the same hours of operations and kind of illumination as it currently does.
Is there a plan for the lighting?
At this point, we have not included a lighting plan in our drawing set.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's something we might want to see. Just given that it's so high and that the lighting configuration is changing from what exists, I think there may be some concern about what that could look like. Does it shine out to the neighbors, to the highway, to Kendrick Street, et cetera? All right, and then quick question about the charging stations. In one of the renderings labeled 2 Kendrick Street view, there appear to be some vertical elements on the top floor of the garage, and I was just wondering what those were. There's 2 rows of about 8 vertical silver things that look to me like potential charging stations.
Those the inverters.
Yeah, that's right. Here, I'm gonna pull it up and so the team can share it, and then I'll comment, or can see it, and then I'll comment on it.
Great, thanks. Yeah, that's the one.
These ones. Yeah, so these this was designed, or this was rendered when the designing we were considering inverters on the top deck. The way the project is actually being designed is that there's one central inverter located where all that mechanical equipment is next to the garage, sorry, the garage electrical room. So we wouldn't actually have these vertical inverters that wouldn't be visible. It's just a box central structure that's located where the energy storage and all the other components are.
On the ground?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's helpful. All right. Len, anything at this point?
No, nothing on my end right now.
Okay. And then Susan, anything you want to add or ask?
Nothing to add or ask. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have a few more questions, if I may. Do these cause glare? These kind of solar arrays for the neighboring community, buildings, neighbors, drivers, et cetera?
We've had this question come up in the past, and we've done some glare analysis, and this was an early concern with these types of solar canopies. And in every case, we've debunked any sort of concerns around glare. The FAA obviously was most concerned with glare because of pilots early on, and there was a large effort by the solar industry to combat those concerns. You actually get a lot more glare off of water bodies like the lake, the pond next door.
Right.
So we haven't had any glare issues, and we have these systems in very close proximity to, you'll see the buildings at 1000 and 950 Winter Street in Waltham had zero issues. We were concerned that glare could impact our tenants, right?
Yep.
So we did a comprehensive study there and haven't seen any issues. That the panels are very good at absorbing sunlight. That's their job. So you don't end up with much glare.
All right. I was hoping that was the answer, but I just felt it was my duty to ask. How about wind and vibration? Does this kind of system result in, given that it's so expansive, result in any noise that might bother the neighbors or the tenants?
We've had vertical axis wind turbines at 888 Boylston Street, which were a nightmare because of the noise and vibration. And
they look great.
Yeah, they look awesome. One of the beautiful things of solar is it's static, and it doesn't produce any noise. It just operates quietly and generates clean power. And so we've really formed our whole renewable strategy around these types of projects because they don't introduce any noise or nuisance.
Well, I was referring to more the structure, except not the physical panel is now a surface that's exposed, like the wind rushing underneath or through it.
We haven't experienced any noise issues.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else wants to comment, but yeah, we haven't had any issues like that.
All right. The columns and the structural components, what color will they be? Will they be painted?
I believe we're carrying a galvanized finish which is a gray, just nickel galvanized standard.
Okay. For weatherproofing.
Yeah, it wears
Right.
well. It looks good too. It blends in. Our leasing people are highly tuned into aesthetics, and it's passed our leasing test for a Class A office environment.
Okay. What's the lifespan of the system like this?
We hope 30 years. The initial term is a 20-year deal with Sunwealth with a 5-year option to extend. But the first project we did, which is solar canopy, we delivered, placed in service in 2014, and showing no signs of significant degradation to the output. The structure is holding up remarkably well. I find it hard to believe it won't go 30 years. So
okay,
we expect 30 years. John, you have a little bit more experience in this realm. What do you think?
Yeah, all the equipment has a design life of 30 to 40 years, except for the inverters, which we built into all the budgets that we'll probably have to replace around year 15.
We do anticipate, Bob, the steel, the racking system that Marcel described has residual value. And at the end of life of the solar panels, we could effectively reclad with solar panels and have a new system.
great. How about views? And I know we talked about that a little. I'm trying to get a sense of the height. So the Kendrick Street view appears, I don't understand how high the view is taken from, right? I can see the building, but is it like a regular automobile seat level view, or is it a truck, or is it a Google Earth view kind of height? Or Google Street View, I meant.
Yeah, I'll again share my screen on that one.
Thanks.
So this is you drop a Google man, and you have his vantage point.
The yellow guy.
Yeah.
Or yellow woman potentially.
Yeah, yellow person.
Yeah, there we go. How about further up Kendrick Street? Because that Kendrick Street, as I recall, is headed downhill when you're heading east. So like up at the intersection over the highway, that would be a little high. Do you have any views from there?
So this would be the ramp, and we've only done the view from this point. Your concern would be this point. So this is a hill coming down.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I understand the orientation correctly, the roof is low, parallel to Route 128, Route 95, and then goes higher as it heads.
Well, correct.
Yeah. So my concern is that you'd actually see that whole expanse. I don't know that that'd be bad, but I'm trying to get a grasp of the scale of it and the view. And then I haven't been out in this location in a long time, but there are houses further up Kendrick Street or even over on Greendale. I have no idea if they could see it, but I'm just voicing that could be a concern with the scale of it and also the lighting that Steve had mentioned earlier. The storage unit that's going on the ground, do you have any renderings or drawings of that?
I do not have any renderings. I could pull up a spec sheet here to show you what the
Okay.
structure.
And would it be enclosed with any kind of fence or anything? Is that appropriate or allowed? Or I'm not familiar with these.
Yeah, the systems themselves are typically just the structure itself is enclosed, so there's nothing exposed onto the elements. But generally, there's not like a fence around it.
Okay. I think that's something we'd actually also like to see. I'll take a look at your, cut sheet right now briefly, but I think we'd also just like to see this piece of equipment you're proposing in situ, like in this project on those parking spaces next to the garage. Are there large conduits that need to get to it? Are they exposed? Are they buried? Those kind of issues, things that people will see every day driving to work.
Okay. We
Are you-
summarize maybe what you're looking for from us for
Yes.
additional materials.
Yeah, just to,
I have three things I thought.
yep, go ahead.
They were, you want to see a lighting plan,
Yes,
okay, and you want to see, let me see, a view from further up Kendrick Street,
yes,
is that
please.
right?
Yep,
And you'd like to see a rendering of the storage facility, storage battery facility,
right, in context, yes.
in context, right?
Just to get an idea of, you know, how it's gonna look there. Is the parking lot gonna be filled in with a curb, or is it gonna be put right actually on the physical pavement that's there now, that kind of thing?
Okay.
Thank you. Great.
It's easy for the lawyer to say, okay, because I don't have to do that. But I'm assuming, Marcel, that's something that you can do, you and your team?
Certainly.
Great. And Rick, I didn't tell you this earlier, but I was working for the architecture firm that designed this original project back in the day.
That's interesting. I think
Yeah.
I knew that, man, from probably the first hearing we had. In the interest of full disclosure.
Right, that was me. Yep, exactly. So
Thank you
great
for
project.
thank you for designing a garage that's perfect for a solar canopy.
Well,
Exactly.
truth be told, we weren't thinking of that back then in the last millennium. We should have been. All right. One last round with my colleagues, Steve, Lynn, or Susan. Any other thoughts or anything? Thank you all for your.
From me.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for going through all those questions. I really appreciate it. That's very helpful in this process. And I will write up a memo that I'll share with the planning board with Lisa's help, and that will help keep you moving forward.
So in terms of going forward with design review, we'll get you what you asked for. Are you going to take another review and have another hearing, or what are you, how would you propose to handle this? Or is this something that if we submit it to you, you take a look at it and sign off on it? I'm just asking.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good question. I think we can do that. I think if we have questions, I will be in touch with you, but I think we can take that approach. We don't want to hold you up, certainly. Does that sound correct, Elisa?
Yes, you write the memo.
Yep.
You send it to me. I share it with the planning department and their planning board. And then you might actually have the DRB for the file, approve these plans
Okay. But I don't know that. we
or
need-
approve with conditions.
Right. But I don't know that they need to come back to present.
No, I don't think so.
But
We'll submit them then.
yeah, thank you, Rick. I will say though, if we do have questions, we will certainly reach out.
We'd encourage you to reach out if you do it.
Yeah.
Because obviously, what we have to resolve, we can resolve.
Right. And I believe it's all resolvable. We're just doing our due diligence. We go through projects that have similar features, maybe not the scale of the solar panels, but lighting is always a big concern at this level with design review board.
I mean, I thought your questions were right on, and they're
thank you.
important questions to answer.
Yeah.
And I think we have good answers for you.
Good. Okay, then I think we'll conclude that presentation. Thank you all to your team. Very professional. I really appreciate it. Very thorough. And we will be in touch.
Thank you very much for your time, really. You guys
Thank
are
you
great.
all. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
All right.
Good evening.
So now we come to the Sheraton property. Got to scroll through my PDF here. All right. A lot of signs here. So Elise, my request favor is clarify as best you can for all of us, each of these signs and the goal. And I did scan through this before the meeting, and is it fair to say they are loosely grouped into building signs and wayfinding signs? Is that accurate?
Yes, it absolutely is correct.
All right, so if we could maybe talk in
We
those.
went through a lot to try to figure out how we were going to present this to you. Elise and I worked through it.
All right, thank you. So maybe we'll start with the building signs, if that's okay with you. And then we'll go to the more wayfinding and placard type.
Okay, so the building signs are pretty cut and dry. What's existing now are facelit illuminated channel letters on the southwest and northwest side of the elevations. We're going.
Excuse me, Elise, sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
Do you have, are you comfortable sharing your screen to talk so we can see a visual, or do you want me to do it?
You want me to?
Oh, I was, wait, sorry, did I get the name wrong here? I think I did.
On page 30.
Pam, sorry, Pam, yeah.
I don't know that I have the capability of doing this because I'm home.
Okay.
So a little hoarse.
That's fine. It's just, I think it's helpful with so many that we can be clear on, all right, we're talking about this sign now, and then we go to the next one.
They are all labeled. So if you have them, we can do them right in order, and they are essentially building signs, and then they progress into.
Yeah, would you mind, Elisa, Sharon, if you don't mind? And then how about Elisa shares and you narrate? How's that?
Sure.
All right. I just want us all looking at the same thing at the same time.
That's perfect.
Because I think I have it up on a second monitor here, which is why my head's always going that way. But I want to make sure we're all on the same page, so to speak. All right. And I counted 11 total, is that right in the numbers?
Yes.
Okay, fine. And 2 building signs, is that right?
Well, there's 2 and then the logo. So
Okay.
there's technically 3.
Thank you. Yep.
Give me just a minute.
Yep, take your time, Elisa.
Page 30.
So just for Steve and Len and Susan, this is, the Sheraton Hotel down there in the Heights. And we have these types of applications before us on occasion where someone will come in and not necessarily rebrand, but reorganize and improve their signage. So it's a lot of what was there, what are we doing now? So Pam, a lot of the questions you'll get from us are comparative, like what was there, what's going in now with respect to location, height, size, that kind of thing.
Yeah, these are pretty cut and dry. Most of them are exact same size or smaller.
Good. They look thinner too.
Yeah, it's a new font, so.
Yeah.
And it's halo illuminated, so we're gonna cut down on that garish red backlit letter and give you a nice, like bronzy color during the day and just the halo lit at night.
All right.
And 20 square feet smaller per set.
Yep, I noticed that. All right, so I'm looking at the signs, and then anything we should know about the logo goes where those flagpoles are. Is that what we're speaking of?
It's the circular logo.
Yeah, circular. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an existing logo there
Yeah.
on the building. We're just going to take that one down, same size, 8-foot diameter, 64 square feet. And this one is going to be an individual S with the, I don't know what we called them.
Crest around it. Is that what I said?
Yeah, the crest. Thank you.
Okay. That's what.
Bob, I'd love to share, but my computer is not cooperating.
All right. Why don't I try?
Sorry.
Do I have
And
Giving me
Sharon?
a big exclamation point, which is not.
All right, let me try. That working?
Oh, perfect. I can
Great.
see it.
All right. Well, I'll drive and you narrate.
Okay, so the first set.
Yep.
There's 2 of these on either side of the building, southwest and northwest elevations. They're existing. What is existing now is facelit red, 153 square feet worth of signage. We're going now to 133 square feet. Again, like I said, halo illuminated. So it's going to cut down on some of that bright red that's been up there for, a few years. It's a much cleaner look.
Okay. So that was sign 1, we'll call it, as you do.
Right.
Yep.
It's
all right.
also
There's 2 signs there, Bob.
Right,
Signs
sign 1
1
and
and
2.
2.
Yep.
So that's
right.
that's the
And
other
those-
elevation.
And those are the same then, correct?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same for the new. Okay, I think that's very clean. Good. All right. And now let's go to E1 and Steve, do you have any questions on the technicalities of this, the supports and raceways and stuff?
Well, I'm just kind of curious. I mean, I don't really care, but I think with the way this is lit, I think they should be using like 24 voltage LEDs because they'll get better lighting from it. And the letters are kind of thin and they may be disappointed with 12 volt LEDs.
That is, I'm not fabricating the letters. I'm just the install part of it. However, if you allow us to go brighter, heck yeah, I'm sure they'll love
It's not.
I know it's not a huge difference. I understand that, but
All right, well, why don't, we might word it in our motion later that is an option, but
Okay.
to go to that, but no further.
It's not just the brighter. There are reasons to use 24 voltage here instead of 12.
okay.
Because the strings, if they're long, you're better off with 24.
Okay.
All right.
Are we talking the power supplies from the power supplies? Is that what
Well,
you're?
the power supplies would be 24 volts and the LEDs
Right.
would also support 24 volt power supplies.
Right. Okay.
And then I always ask this question, you may have heard it in the earlier presentation, Pam. So if the new sign is smaller, is there any concern of the existing condition of the facade?
No,
whether-
that's being refinished.
Okay, great.
Right. It has to be because of the
Right.
size and the width of the letters.
Yeah, and I would think any owner would want to do
Yeah, I
that.
think it's noted on the drawing with the background. I think it says the background is to be painted.
Okay.
I thought it was noted somewhere.
It says wall to be repaired as required.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's going to
yep.
be right.
Okay,
So-
good. Yep. All right. All right, so that was 1 and 2, and let's go to this one, and then maybe we'll go to the other separately. So you want to tell us anything about this circular one?
So again, this was an existing facelit cabinet, 8-foot diameter. We're going to remove that. Again, patch the wall or do whatever we need to. So it's on that right-hand side. And now put up the new S that matches the Sheraton's current rebranding, the new colors, and then the shield around that, the crest around that. Again, pretty simple.
Is this one illuminated?
It is.
Is the crest illuminated?
Yes, and I think they showed that almost as if it were a cabinet.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you-
I see it on the
so-
sheet. Yep.
Yeah, so they show that as a cabinet. I am not sure by looking at this whether or not they've opaqued the white or if they've opaqued any part of that. So I could get you confirmation of that. However, it looks like it's a white cabinet, white face with the colors on it.
Okay. And then what would the color of the non-white pieces be? All those
They
little.
call it tungsten. It's almost like a Duranotic bronze.
That's,
Do you know that?
that's a new one to me.
Duranotic bronze is like a sign term.
Oh.
So it is like a window mullion. in
Oh,
a
okay.
typical office building,
Got it.
like matte black, but it's bronzy.
Bronze. Okay.
So it's very similar to that.
All right. Thank you. That's helpful. All right. Steve, any questions on the circular sign?
No, I think it's okay. They show it kind of, when they show the nighttime appearance, it looks like the around the outside perimeter looks like it's individually.
Correct,
lit.
because they're going to opaque that color. So the tungsten isn't illuminated essentially. Just the white will light up or vice versa. I'm not sure how they have it because it looks like it's drawn differently. So
Okay, I lost you there. So meaning.
So
the-
if you look at the daytime appearance, it shows like it's individual pieces,
Yep.
yet their drawing shows that it's a cabinet. So
Oh,
I'm not sure what their intention is, but they have something that's non-illuminated. So they've opaqued. So the white part, I believe, is not going to light.
The only way you'd know is if they showed us a section from the top.
Correct. And they showed us that side view. I could
Right.
get that for you.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything really. You know, you can't tell. If you had the section on the top, you could tell.
Right.
Well, is this, I mean, something's gonna be illuminated. I guess we're now just deciding which piece. Is it the positive or the
Correct.
negative, right? Okay.
Which
would-
I can confirm for you what their
Yeah,
exact
I think
plan
you
is.
should.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
Okay.
Len and Susan, any concerns with these first three signs?
None from my end. I'm okay.
Thank you, Len.
I think they're a great improvement over what's there.
I do too. Great. All right. All right. Why don't we do a motion here if the board's okay with that, just for these three? Is it okay to group some of these together, Lisa, or do I need to do them separately?
If they're going to all be approved, say, as submitted without conditions, then I don't see why you can't.
All right, then why don't we approve the first two? Because I believe we're all in agreement, those first two, the big Sheratons, we're approving without any conditions. Does that sound correct to everybody?
Yes.
All right.
Well, I'd go for the first three. That sign is so far back.
Yeah,
It's not gonna make a difference how they make it. You're not gonna see anything really.
well, I guess it makes sense to me why they did, a cabinet makes sense, because who would want to make all those tiny little pieces, right? So,
Yeah, that's a lot of welding.
yeah.
They're
And
not so tiny, but still.
you're right, true, up on the building. All right, so I have no objections to that third sign, the circular one, as I call it. So I am gonna suggest a motion and then ask Steve to make it, but that we move to approve these first three signs. Are they 1, 2, and 3? Is that correct, Pam?
Yes.
All right, so the EO1, EO2, EO3, approve as submitted.
I make a motion to approve signs EL1, EL2, EL3 as submitted.
Second.
Any second?
All right, thank you, Len. Now we come to the vote. So Steve,
Aye.
Len,
Aye.
Susan,
I
and the acting chair votes aye. All right, great. We're doing well so far. All right, moving on. So so that was 3 out of 11, that's 8. Is there any way to group the rest of them, or should we just go?
Yeah,
through?
this one should probably be done by itself because it's
Okay.
the only next illuminated one.
Okay, great.
So this is an existing sign cabinet, freestanding monument, currently has push-through faces, and we're just going to replace the faces in it. It's pretty cut and dry.
Okay. So help me out here. I see black and blue. Is this?
Well, one is for the Sheraton. It's I believe it's
Oh, I
the
see. Yep.
tungsten color too, isn't it? I
Okay.
thought it was all tungsten. Graphic. I'm so ill prepared. Forgive me. My daughter tore her Achilles tendon last week.
Oh, I'm sorry to
So-
hear that.
Oh, she's fine.
Good.
But thank you. So one is definitely for the office building section, and then the Sheraton.
Okay.
What they're trying to do is to rebrand the Sheraton signs, and then the directional signs, as you'll see later on, tend to be for the entire complex. Very few of them will have the Sheraton logo. They're just like individual directional signs. So it
Okay.
kind of ties it in.
And is this sign here one location on the property?
Correct.
Okay, so, and this, I blew this up because the existing photos help, but they're kind of small.
Yeah, they show that the Sheraton, they show this very similar sign, just changing the Sheraton panel. Realistically, it's,
Okay,
that's the only difference.
Is this the sign on the bottom of Third Ave?
Yes.
Okay.
and so the Hillsite office building 75 Second, I can't see the 75 Second in the existing.
Yeah, it's there. It's very light in the orange.
Okay, fine. So that's not changing then.
No,
Great, all
no,
right. So
we're
it's
just we're gonna freshen it up with a new face,
Okay.
but
Right.
because it just redoing the whole sign.
And does this illuminate?
It does. It's pushed through acrylic letters.
Okay, And it illuminates currently as well, so that's
Yes,
changed. All right, so that's fine. And it's not, and it's the same size, correct?
same size. We're
Okay.
using the same frame, just
All right.
changing.
I have no problem with this sign. Steve, any thoughts, questions?
I think it's very nice. You know,
Okay.
I've had no problems with it.
Okay, good. Len
I agree, no problems.
and Susan.
I agree and ditto what I said before. I think it's much nicer than what was there before.
All right. Yeah, that usually happens when they rebrand. It's good for them, good for us. Okay, Steve, are you comfortable making a motion for this one?
I move that we accept these signs, EO3 replacement faces, as presented.
EO4, I think this one is.
EO4,
Yes.
yes.
Yep. All right, friendly amendment. All right. Len, would you second?
Second,
Great, thank you, Len. We come to the vote. Steve,
Aye.
Len,
aye.
Susan,
I
and the chair votes aye. All right, moving on. So now we are sign type EO5, recover existing sign with new aluminum face, non-illuminated paint existing post and frame. Okay,
We might want to, while we're at this one, we might want to look, if you want to scroll through 5, 6, and 7, they
Okay.
are just recovers. So
Great,
they're
that's
existing
helpful.
signs.
all right.
So 5,
And-
6, 7.
Maybe a general geography lesson of where these are and
Okay, so there's a map for that at the end.
Okay, all right.
I think you should have received that to
Yep,
show
I
you,
did
because
see it.
they are randomly spaced out
Okay.
on the property.
Okay.
So all of these, this is a triangle sign, so 3 new faces on that.
Yeah.
And again, new faces, so they're all existing.
Entrance, parking. Okay.
So they're existing, and essentially they got rid of the Sheraton logo on that. Which
Okay.
again, makes it easier for anybody who's a bit confused in the parking, looking for the office park area.
Got it. And so these are just being refaced, is that the term?
Yes,
Recovered? So
Yep,
the structure is
recovered.
staying the same size, height, location.
yeah,
And
same
painting-
holes, everything.
Painting will look, improve the posts, et cetera.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just freshening
Registration.
them up.
All right. Okay, I think these are an improvement as well. And just to review, it does, and I know every computer monitor is different. I'm calling it black on the screen, but that's the tungsten color again.
Yes,
Okay. All right, I have no objections to 5, 6, and 7. Steve, anything?
No,
Good.
I think they're fine.
All right. Len
Nope, I'm good with this.
and Susan.
no objections.
Great. All right. So let's take 5, 6, and 7 as a group. Steve, if you just want to make.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve EO5, 06, and 07 as submitted.
Second,
Thank you, Len. We come to the vote. Steve,
Aye.
Len,
aye.
Susan,
I
and the acting chair votes aye.
I have just
Okay.
one question.
yes, sir.
On these signs here, you call out the color as graphite, but up here on these first signs, you call it out as tungsten. Is there a difference?
I'm not sure. I would assume one is darker than the other, more gray. I could confirm that with color samples if you'd like.
No, I'm sure what they wrote is what they were gonna do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna scroll through. I just want to make sure it's consistent on this group, right? Because they want these to go together, right? Pantone.
Yeah, so great. They have the graphite on that one as well.
Yeah. And that
And
was it.
graphite.
So
My
all right.
mistake, I'm sorry.
All right, so so the screen I'm looking at right now, which is EO5, has 3 colors. So one is Pantone Warm Gray Oyster, one is Pantone Graphite, and one is Pantone Cool Gray, French Gray. So is that for sign and the letters and the posts?
And the posts,
Got it.
yes.
Okay, fine. And this one down here has two of those.
because we're just doing the faces.
Right. And I presume the posts, if they needed to, would be done.
Correct.
The same.
Yeah,
All right. And the same thing here has the three. It's interesting that middle sign, they only had the two colors noted. So
yeah,
I'll ask you to make sure that's consistent.
okay, we
All
will.
right. All right, so now we're moving into 08. And any other grouping coming up?
So 08 and 9 are existing signs that are more like aluminum panels, like a handicap parking sign type material, and like an 080 aluminum flat panel on U-channel posts.
Yeah.
We're going to just change them into 2x3 posts and panels to match the other existing ones that you just kind of approved.
Okay. So you can see, I'm looking at 09 right now, guest parking. And I see the existing sign to be removed. So this one, how does it compare size wise? It looks.
It's this is the same size. It's
Same size?
taller and it has
Okay.
thicker poles because the poles are on the outside of the sign.
Okay.
So with the sign, it's essentially going to be 6 inches bigger because we have 3x3 posts on either side of it.
Okay. So do we need to be concerned about the height? It's taller?
It's taller. The clearance is 6 foot.
Right.
Typically for driving purposes, we mount them, tend to mount them between 6 and 7, depending on like the statute of the town.
Right. Steve, do you recall what the issue might be here? Because this one,
I think it should be lower.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, when you're in a car, I mean, you probably, your head height's probably no more than 5 feet,
Correct.
so looking straight ahead,
Yeah, it's a very clear sign that, all you need to see is the arrow and the word parking pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? And
and this one wasn't in the original package, just looks like an add-on at one time.
Yeah, it may very well have been.
it was in my package that I received.
No, in the
I think he's
original
talking-
submittal of signs for this project.
Oh, I see.
The original blue sign.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they may have added it at some point
We may
if they
have,
were having issues trying to direct people a particular way.
we may have to check that then.
Okay.
Yeah, so we might
Well,
hold
they
off.
could bring it down to 3 feet and be within the bylaw.
But if it's a new sign, is that not an issue? Because if it, if they don't have a permit for the original one.
Yeah, I'm unaware of
Right,
whether or not.
that I
they-
think I want to be careful on. That, so we might hold off on 09.
Okay. You may have the same problem then with 08 because that
Okay.
looks like it was, if you zoom back.
Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, this is same
Yeah.
idea. Was an 18 by 18 inch sign that they wanted to add the new post and panel for.
Yeah, and I think the new sign looks nice and good, but it's a lot more sign, it's got double posts, it's bigger. I'm with Steve. Both of these, I'll tell you now, I think should be lower and can be lower.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but I still think 8 and 9, I think I want to do some research with Elisa's help and to see if we can track down if those were approved ever, or when they were approved and under what conditions, etc. All right. So that you might have to come back for those,
Okay.
or you will. 10 and 11, the last two.
10 and 11. So 10 is, again, I'm not sure. It's an existing sign there. We're just switching it out, the 3x3 sign.
Okay.
And that, again, I don't know if it's been permitted or some of this stuff, through
Yeah.
the years, people will just order and put up because they
Right,
think they need it.
Right. I mean, they're trying to help their customers. We get it.
Right.
We're small, like the giant one on the building. We know there's a permit for it somewhere.
Right.
That's not a problem. These, and I will say, Pam, we try to be careful with big campuses. We went through it with our other applicants in town when they have multiple signs. I mean, we try to be careful with the number, location, and from the client's perspective, you're doing a great job of making them consistent. So that's good. But from our perspective as a town, the number and location and size of them is very important to us.
Sure.
So 3x3. And it's the Pantone's the same color palette. And then this one,
These are new as well. These are just essentially stainless steel plaques that are going to mount on the columns either side of the entrance.
okay. So this is a new application then? These do not
These
exist.
would be, yes.
Yeah. Are
But
we running?
these would be under 2 square feet, Bob.
So
Yeah, oh,
1
great.
foot 3 by 1
Yeah.
foot 1.5
Yep.
is under 2 square feet. So
So that
they
is,
have that as by right.
yeah, so you don't need to apply for those if they're under.
yeah, I mentioned that to the gentleman that I'm pulling the permits for, or attempting to, and he was like, apply for everything.
Well, I think he wants to hear us say what we just said.
Correct.
That's fine. I don't know, have a problem with that. I'd rather do that.
Oh, absolutely. I told Elisa that initially I go, some of these signs are things typically we would go and recover because they were existing. However, nowadays we pull permits for everything. We have
Well,
to.
well, good. We like hearing that. So here's a suggestion. I don't know, maybe you talk to your client, but could this garage one be 2 by 2 and still work?
Okay.
It might be too small, but if it is 2 by 2, you now know the answer to that.
Right, but it's 2 square feet, no?
Right.
So that's 1
16
by
by
1.
16.
1 by
Oh,
2.
yeah, sorry, I
We
misread
could do
that,
like,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be too small, I think, there. All right, let me chime in with my other colleagues. Len, anything on these last couple signs?
No, nothing, nothing on my end.
Okay, and Susan?
Nothing here.
Great, thank you. Elise, any thoughts on this one over the garage? You know, since you are coming back though, Pam, if you don't mind, I think maybe we'll just play it safe and we'll look into this one.
Okay.
And we can do them both when you come back.
Okay, so should I wait to hear from you for these 3 signs then? Because it would be 8, 9, and 10 essentially.
Hang on a sec, 8, 9, and 10. This one is 10. This one is 9. And all right, 11 was the one we don't need to worry about because that's the
Correct.
one, right? Okay. 8, 9, and 10. Yes, you should wait to hear from us.
Okay. And for any reason, should the client decide to eliminate them, or I'm just going to present it to them that we need to come back and,
Yep.
Or can I proceed per se with the others and then do a separate application or return application for just these 3?
Yes. Is that
Okay.
correct, Elisa?
You're saying, you're asking if you can move forward with the building department on the other signs? Yes.
Correct. Okay, perfect.
Until we're clear, Pam, I have that as signs 1 through 7
Okay, great.
are all unanimously approved this evening.
And so
Perfect.
what happens, as our acting chair stated early in the meeting, he'll provide me the approvals, I send them to you, and then you can add them to Viewpoint Cloud when you apply to the building department.
Okay, great.
So 1 through 7 are in our hands. You can go back and talk to your client about 8, 9, and 10, and 11 is, resolved.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Excellent.
Do you have any other questions for us, Pam?
No, I'm great. Thank you.
All right, and best of luck to your daughter in a full recovery.
Oh, 9 months, they say.
Oh, boy.
I'm like, I'm going to be stuck with a 15-year-old doing nothing.
What could go wrong?
I don't know. When she's a girl, it's awful.
You'll be fine.
All right. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your patience tonight.
All right. Good night.
And I think you can stop recording at this juncture,
You
Lisa.
need to adjourn.
It's a good thing you're here. All right, would anyone like to make that important motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I will second.
All right, Steve,
Aye.
Len,
Aye.
Susan,
I
acting chair votes aye. The meeting is officially disbanded.